Pod and happy April. We're moving right along with celebrating Black directors. I'm your host, Jackie McGriff. And if this is your first time listening and or watching, welcome to Representation in Cinema. We talk about the films that center Black, Brown, and Indigenous voices, as well as on the film industry itself. I'm not only your host, but also the founder, director, and co-producer at Our Voices Project, a production company that shares the stories and lived experiences of Black, Brown, and Indigenous peoples through visual storytelling and truth-telling. We are community engaged filmmakers who firmly believe that you can't center the stories of Black, Brown, Indigenous peoples without also being in community and in solidarity with them. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell to get notified about when new episodes drop. If you're listening on your preferred podcast platform and you love what you hear on this episode, hit that follow button, rate us 5 stars, and leave a comment to share your thoughts about any of the things that you hear in tonight's episode. By the way, tonight's episode is about Queen Ava Duvernay. Again, that's no shade to Beyonce. I just call Ava Queen. Because that's the queen to me. The director behind 13th, Selma, A Wrinkle in Time, and Origin, as well as the director behind the series When They See Us, and the founder of Array, a multi-platform arts and social impact collective dedicated to narrative change, which is what we're all about here at Our Voices Project. Before I get into some background about Ava Duvernay, I'm going to introduce our guests returning to the podcast, starting with Dr. Katrina Overby, aka DJ Spin, Dr. KO.
Hello, listeners. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Katrina is an activist scholar who is interested broadly in media, race, sexuality, and gender. Specifically, her research interests are in Black Twitter, social media and culture, African American cinema, race and identity in television and popular culture, sports media, and the scholarship of teaching and learning. Glad to have you back, Katrina.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes. Next up is Dominique Alexandria Simmonds. Dominique is a creative mother and founder of Carabago Designs, where Afro-Caribbean heritage, melanated arts, and visual storytelling converge. Passionate about celebrating culture through design, photography, and textile art, she brings vibrant energy, heritage, and joy to every encounter. Welcome back, Dominique.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you here. And now joining us for the first time virtually is Kamesha B. She is a multifaceted creative based in New York City and Rochester, New York, weaving her talents as a writer, producer, director, and media consultant into a tapestry of storytelling. She has worked with CBS News, the Food Network, 6 Point Pictures, Seed Vision, Established 89, and Amazon Prime Video. Kamesha's career aspiration is clear: to create uncompromising stories that challenge conventional paradigms and bring authentic visions to the screen. Her academic journey includes a Bachelor of Arts in English from Buffalo State University, followed by a deep dive into storytelling at Johns Hopkins University, where she earned a dual Master of Arts in Business and Film Media Studies. Welcome, Kamesha.
Thank you.
All right, so on to Ava Duvernay. I believe films are meant to challenge us. In the golden age of Hollywood, movies were primarily seen as a means to make money. They still are today, but filmmaking is an art form. In my opinion, the greatest works of art challenge us in how we see other people, other cultures, other worldviews. They move us toward change. They demand that we confront our past, embrace and sit with our grief, our faults, and our frustrations, and speak truth to power. Throughout her career, Ava Duvernay is an incredible storyteller and filmmaker who has done all of this and more. She hasn't just crafted storylines that force us to confront our past, but to use that education as a tool to propel us forward. In an interview with BuzzFeed about her latest film, Origin, she states, "I think that we haven't been taught to or asked to ignore the things that really affect us and call it by something that allows us to put it away, as opposed to walking into a dark room, turning on the lights, looking around and saying there's nothing to fear here because I have the knowledge, and knowledge is power." So that's how I see it. I prefer to know. I prefer to read the book, talk to my elders, and understand the theories, look at the pictures, watch the movie, and know what's going on and empower myself in that way. I just invite people to think about it like that as opposed to trafficking in trauma. That's how I go about it. Born in Long Beach and raised in Compton, she was encouraged at a young age to say something through the arts by her mother. She'd spend every summer in Lowndes County, Alabama. For anyone who isn't familiar, this is a place where the Black community members there, as well as activists and students from SNCC, fought for voting rights for the Black population there. This is a town that is no stranger to political action, and where Ava would eventually get the inspiration to write and direct a movie about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Duvernay was already an established entrepreneur who created a successful film publicity agency, but picked up the camera in her early 30s out of a desire to tell her own stories. In 2010, she made her directorial debut with her film I Will Follow at Sundance, and soon after created Array, an independent film distribution company. For me, it was really whatever I could do to not be lonely, Duvernay said during Fast Company's Most Innovative Companies Summit. I would get into these spaces as an artist and feel lonely. I wasn't seeing any other people like me. Some people get in a room and they're the only one, and they like that. They feel special. They like that position. I don't like that. I look around a room and I think, where's everyone else? Since then, she's also launched the production company Array Filmworks, which recently added podcasting, and the nonprofit division Array Alliance, which houses resources for grants, mentorship, and online education tools, and now Array Crew, an inclusive database of below-the-line workers, meaning camera operators, script supervisors, boom operators, and so forth. She's an amazing filmmaker who's opened the doors to so many people, lifting people as she climbs, and telling stories that we wouldn't have seen on the big screen had it not been for her. For me, giving Ava Duvernay her flowers comes from a personal place. Had it not been for 13th, I wouldn't have taken the leap to become a filmmaker, to launch our Voices project. None of this I would have thought possible, especially in my early 30s, had it not been for Ava Duvernay doing the very same. To speak to the Queen's integrity herself, she's always had counselors provided on set for anyone who needs to decompress, and allowing her cast and crew the space and time in order to do so if work becomes too much, especially given the subject matter that Ava, through her storytelling, forces us to face. I also want to share another quote from her. I'm not a director for hire, so I don't go around saying, give me work. I write things that I want to express as an artist, that I want to share, and the things that interest me. I'm interested in history. I'm interested in community. I'm interested in solidarity. I'm interested in my brothers and sisters around the world and our interconnectedness to the spaces around us. So whether that comes out as A Wrinkle in Time with a Black girl traveling the universe searching for her father, or whether it comes out as When They See Us, the story of injustice of 5 boys who go up against the whole system to write their name, or whether it's something like Origin, which contemplates humanity overall. Indian people, Nazis, Black folk, and the American South, and the ways in which they are all braided together. I think storytelling comes in all forms, and I'm fortunate that I get to tell the stories I want to tell. That's why I'm giving Ava DuVernay her flowers. If you haven't already watched her films, I highly recommend that you do so. Okay, so with that, let's dive into these films. And just so you know, we're going to be getting into spoilers, so you have been warned. All right, so first let's break down the movie. For me, at least, that started it all. 13th explores the history of racial inequality in the United States, focusing on how the nation's prison system is a modern extension of slavery through the 13th Amendment's loophole, allowing involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime, which drives mass incarceration, particularly targeting Black Americans. All right, so as far as your initial reactions, because I definitely know what mine was, Katrina, I want to start with you.
Yeah, finally. I think my reaction was finally someone that weaved together the long history of mass incarceration and started in 1865 and brought us through to the current, at that time, the current Black Lives Matter movement. And the stories that she included, the people that Ava included, and the way she was able to sort of take us through that timeline in history, almost policy by policy, president by president, telling us how people voted, what they voted for, or what they, what they campaigned on. As well as just some of the quotes that were being said at the time. And I remember, I believe one of the quotes was from Donald Trump and talking about taking things back to the good old days. But she interjected these cinematic moments where people were getting beat down in the streets, getting pulled from cafeteria counters. And so good old days for whom?
Right.
And so for me, it felt like finally I had a cousin at the time who had sort of been repeating a lot of Raven Simone's talking points around colored blindness at the time. And we had tried to have conversations before, and those sort of fell off, and she had to watch 13th in a class, and she came out of the class crying hysterically and called me and said, "Cousin, I had no idea, that this was truly the history, and we just watched the first part." So I would say that the impact has been long lasting, but there's still so much work to do. That's my reaction.
Yeah. Kamesha, how about you?
I would say, like, I agree with everything Katrina said, because finally was my thought too. And 13th was my intro to Ava. And I just like, oh my gosh, girl, where you been? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where you been? And it just made, I don't know, it was heartbreaking to watch, but I also enjoyed it so much because you saw all the strategies that each policy and each president used to continue to like oppress Black people, and it was beautiful just to tap into her cinematic brain, but also the scholar that Ava is. It was a great intro to who she is as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, and I think it's just a documentary that kind of played as a cinematic film in a way. And I like how she was able to, as someone who put out just like indie film, was able to tap into the documentary world as well. Because sometimes in the industry, it's been said that you can't do those two things, that you either have to be a documentary filmmaker or a filmmaker or a TV writer or director, but she was able to, she's done it all. So from going to I Will Follow to this, and then directing like Scandal episodes. It's like, what? Like the talent is just like there. And I 13th is a great film to show a family member who might be struggling with identity, or a student who may not know anything about the history, especially when these amendments come up in Congress, just like it did yesterday. It's just like, these are just good conversations to have, even now. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Dominique, how about you?
Wow. Yeah, 13th was my opening act for Ava as well. And coming from a design aspect, just how impactful and like contradicting the visual was when it popped up on Netflix. Like, ooh, what's this? Like, I had no idea who the director was or who. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat. I'm not a film buff. But when a graphic gets my attention visually, it's just like judging a book by its cover. Judge, need to open, press play, and it all the things like so. What's the word? Not impactful, but just so simplistic, but meaning so powerful, all within one. 13. We already know how much weight that holds in our nation, and it was just very well portrayed from top to bottom. I'm not a big fan of documentaries either. I'm not gonna lie, I usually fall asleep, but not this time. You're talking about when it came out, I'm super pregnant and I'm calling everybody in my family to come down and watch this with me. So very well done. It resonated extremely with others that I know who have been impacted. We probably all know someone in our family or extended friendships or whatever, who have dealt with this type of discrimination or relations in our everyday environment to this day. So it was really good and well thought out to shed more light to the masses.
Yes, I would absolutely echo what every single one of you have said. It was also my intro to Ava. That's the first time I ever thought to like it seemed possible and plausible to become a filmmaker. So I'm sitting here watching this documentary and I'm like, I like I could do this. Like I could, like I'm sitting down, I'm hearing all of this, and also like annoying the crap out of my mom because like I'm watching this and like I'm having to pause and going, but did you know this? Like, oh my God, I'm like, did you even realize that about the 13th Amendment?
Seriously.
Like I'm such a nerd. And like, so when it's introduced, like the 13th Amendment has this loophole. Like I remember like it was like in school there was like a brief moment that we like talked about each of the amendments, right? You're talking about the Bill of Rights, you're talking about all these different things, you know, and what each of these amendments are, right? And like their significance. But of course there's not like a deep dive into what this really means. And so to actually take that amendment, look at it, break it apart, and then see how it's been used time and time again, especially when it involves mass incarceration. I mean, the first figure, right, that comes up is like United States makes up for 5% of the population, but it is 25% of the world's incarceration. I had to pause like right after that. Like there's so many moments within like the film where I'm having to pause. And like I said, I'm going to my mom like, listen, I need you need to sit down and watch this. Like this is, and she didn't, because she's not a documentary person either. Which is fine. But you know, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I love documentaries. Oh my gosh.
Me too. Yeah, same. Me and my mom, it's our thing. So yeah, we love a good doc.
Yes, absolutely.
We need shirts.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love docs. Something. There is, I know there's one that's out there. But yes, we will definitely make the t-shirts. But yes, like all of this knowledge, and I'm sitting there, I'm soaking all of this in, like having to really just like take and like digest, because there is so much packed in this one film. I know that Ava at some point made it, or she worked out a deal with Netflix where they would also make it free on YouTube. So for anyone who doesn't have Netflix, but you know, to have access to that kind of knowledge, because it was being taught in class or being shown in classrooms, right? To make it available to people, and now anyone can access, right, that film. So really, you don't have any excuse, like not like to go get that education for yourself. But then like with all of this knowledge, I just remember like all of the things that I was learning through this film, all of the moments that I'm sitting here, I'm going, you know, like I know like I have these aspirations to become a filmmaker. I don't know if it's necessarily possible for me. And then for her to have made that film, I'm not saying that filmmaking is at all easy, because it's not. Every film is a miracle. But like to sit there, and she's put all these pieces together, you know, Dominique, you're talking about all of the graphics and everything, all the interviews like that she's made, the research that has gone behind this. I'm just looking at that and going, oh my God, I think I could do this. I think I can actually become a filmmaker. And it wouldn't be till like years later that I'd be able to do that. But like that's what, yes, she definitely planted the seed.
Nice.
So with that, I kind of want to like jump, and of course, like feel free to also like chime in with anything from the film that sticks out to you. But for me, it wasn't just that figure that we talked about us being the 25% of the world's incarceration. It's just crazy. But also talking about how Birth of a Nation, like brought back like the Ku Klux, like inspired the Ku Klux Klan to like come back.
We can do this.
Right. Yeah. It was like, it's possible.
Not quite what we're looking for, but okay.
Right. Like what are you talking? Like, that's another moment I had to like pause, because I was like, are you, so a movie that inspired this terrorist group, which by the way still isn't classified terrorist group.
Really?
No.
All right.
Yeah. Like Nelson Mandela until 2008 was on the terror watch list, right? But KKK, no. Remains to be seen.
Listen, you gotta have friends in high places, though. Clearly they do. That's all he can say in that. Like, let's just erase that.
You know? But yeah, like I would love to know like your thoughts about that, or like anything else in the film that stuck out to you?
I mean, a couple things jump into my head right now, and I will be straight transparent. I have not watched this film since that time. Like I didn't rewatch it, and these things are still stagnant in my brain, right? So, like again, the 13, the stripes on the flag, to the unluckiness of the number 13, to the colonies or the original states that give the most detriment to our nation, if you ask me. And of course, like you mentioned, the amendment, they're just those are like the biggest factors that pop to mind. And I think it brings more curiosity to deep dive on the meaning of those things, right? And what is it called? The brand or the food industry. Who can remember? It starts with the letter A. Is it Archway, or do you guys remember the food brand that did the food for the jail?
Oh gosh! No, it's
trivia time.
I know.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's okay. We won't take too long, but it's in my brain, and I've seen that brand, you know, in hospitals and things, and just look at them differently after watching this. Start like, oh, that's what you guys do. Yeah, you're like not okay. Where are we food? Anyway, but yeah, those are just like at the top of my head right now. Some very impactful situations, and I've again with that particular food industry, I'm not going to deep dive too far with it.
That is Aramark.
Aramark, thank you.
Oh yeah, what a delightful college experience it is eating Aramark food. Right. Sponsor of Representation Cinema, Aramark food.
Not a sponsor. Never in your life.
They are everywhere. Like I can picture the logo, obviously. I could draw it right now, but the name just slipped for a second. But yeah, never knew about that until she shed light on them in the documentary, and it just makes you look at things so differently, because I know they're not the only ones, right?
Yeah.
I would say for me, it was the storytelling about media's role in Black criminality and how it has played a key function in perpetuating stereotypes. And so I'm glad you brought up Birth of a Nation, because and this might have been in an interview for this film. Ava talks about how, you know, at the time, D.W. Griffith was seen, and it's still seen. Yeah. It's still lauded as a film producer or director that was ahead of his time, because he was using
I've been in a class
that people are still using.
People in classes where they're like, even though like we don't condone WD, and I'm like, no, I don't even want to hear his name. Why would you even? Let's not.
And so in the interview, she's talking about, you know, this person, while maybe a great director, was racist and continued, you know, really, and the power of film, when we really are thinking about the power of film,
and they still give them their flowers.
Yeah, they utilize everything at their disposal to push the narrative of criminalization of sexually deviant men, and that is why it's okay for them to be locked up, because they do not see them as human to begin with. And so I think it's easy to discard humans when you do not see them as human.
Right.
Turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Kamesha, how about you? What stuck out to you?
Again, I like Dominique, I haven't seen it in a while, but it's still, so many parts have, you know, I still remember so many parts, and the film still has, like, you know, stuck with me over the years. But I would again agree with Katrina, because I have an interest in what media does to the Black psyche, and that's why I connect so much with Ava's work, because I love how she talked about images and how the media, newspapers, just created these lies to make it seem like Black people needed to be criminalized, and how so much of these systems are connected to just slavery, the interconnectivity of it all, just for labor and to build wealth off of us. I also remember that book introducing me to film introducing me to the book, The New Jim Crow, which I think was a very, very powerful book for this time. So the imagery I think was huge in that film. So
Michelle Alexander,
yeah.
the new Jim Crow, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, the wealth of it all, that mass incarceration is a money-making machine. And I'm glad Kamesha brings up what media representation does to the Black psyche or Black cinema. And I would be remiss to just not mention the work that Media 2070 is doing, and they provide resources and a history of the damage that has been done. And so I was recently spotlighted in one of their faculty or people spotlights as someone that's used their work in class that I taught racial justice, and they've just been doing highlights of people that have used their resources. And so they talk about how can the media repair what it's done Black community to Black people. And first it starts with acknowledging that there was harm done and the history and origin of those harms. And so, I mean, if you visit that site, you will find so much information and so much to discuss. So maybe one day we can discuss that on the podcast.
That would be amazing.
2070, and a good friend of mine that lives right here in Rochester works with that group and has a big hand in that. So she might be interested in coming to the podcast as well.
You heard it here first. Media 2070. Love to have you on the podcast. Yes, for sure. Let us
segue.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Another thing that like pops up, because like I think maybe every other year, ever so often, I will go back to 13th, because there's so much packed in there. But also talking about just all the ways in which like our government has created right, like a system of like mass incarceration, and especially with like the label of criminal, right, that they've used, and that's something that comes up quite a bit in the documentary. But also this idea of like this sort of like these kind of dog whistles. So when they're talking about the Southern strategy, and talking about like how law and order, right, we're the law and order president, taking it all the way back to like Nixon. I think they also mentioned Reagan in there, but then they bring it back to like Trump's first presidency, saying I'm a law and order president, and law and order essentially like how that phrase has evolved over the years, right? They're saying, well, you can't, there was this whole like sound bite that they use from someone who is teaching like how to use this strategy, with other politicians or to other politicians. And he's saying, well, you can't just say the N-word anymore, you got to say this. And then he keeps just going through, and it eventually becomes like law and order, right? Whereas it's seen as something that is, well, of course we want law and order, right? Because otherwise we'd be chaos. But it's so there's so much behind that, where it's meant to keep Black folks out of having voting rights, having housing rights, like all of these different things that we are right. We have the inalienable right as citizens, right, to all of these things, but then to use a strategy and couch it in such language that no one would necessarily put up, like,
connect the dots.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, shout out to Ava for putting Angela Davis in the film. I'm wearing a Angela Davis button somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
And talking about being on the FBI's most wanted list. That was a time. That was a time. But Angela Davis took them to school. It was like they said she was on trial, but she took them to trial.
Yes.
Right. And walked out of there free. And
that's right.
In the interview that they were showing that she did with some after, and someone was asking her, well, what about the violence of it all? Almost talking about the Black community. And she was like, you mean the violence like from Bloody Sunday?
Right.
The violence from on the 16th Street Baptist Church, right?
Exactly.
So all of these things, I think there's just a lot of interconnected alignment between Ava's films. And so even with some of the ones that we're going to be talking about now, they have through lines somewhere embedded in them.
Right.
So
also you mentioned Angela Davis. So there's also another documentary that I would highly recommend. I think it's the Black Mixtape.
Yes.
And it's a focus on Angela Davis as well. And I remember that. I think it was also, I don't know if it's available on Netflix now, but I know for some time ago it was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good one. And I know there's like so many where she's featured or like the center or a focus. But yeah, because it does. That's the beauty of this film, right? It makes you question so much. It breaks so many of like our systems down just through this one amendment, and then it also you start to become curious about other things, and so you start doing all these other deep dives and everything. Is there anything else about this film that anyone would like to mention before moving on to our next?
I would definitely, I mean, one of the biggest impacts, well, not biggest impacts, but resignation is the fact that they've created that system to keep people in jail longer or incarcerated. Yes, they come out with different skill sets, technically, if they come out, but it's just another prolonged way of in slavery, as you've stated or reminded us. That comes off generalized, once it's a form of mental slavery or conditioning that you feel almost comfortable being in this position, like, well, this is my life,
Yeah.
So it's really, it needs to change.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Kamesha? Anything else that stuck out to you?
No. I mean, I don't know if you could, is it okay to say like platform names? Like,
yeah.
Okay. It's been free on YouTube for a while for any of the viewers that haven't seen it or are worried about if it's on like a Netflix or a streaming platform. The whole film has been on YouTube for a while if anyone's interested in watching.
For sure. Katrina, how about you?
No, I think, I'm just more to think about, right? More questions to ask and thinking about what I'll be thinking about the next time I decide to sit down and watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because watching it for the first time, I think you're definitely, if you haven't seen it before, like you're kind of overwhelmed by the amount like of information. Because it really is. You could do a whole like curricula or just around that film because there's so much that's,
and I believe people have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Into the classroom. So
I almost feel like there needs to be a part 2 of the film, but or part 3 or part 13, who knows? But at the same time, because society of that population, our population has been still fighting for reparations. We still need to be angry, but at the same time, I kind of want to see light shed on the ones who have gotten through and broken through this system and have made a life for themselves in some type of way, because that's damn near impossible realistically. So I don't know.
Sure. I would imagine, I know that there are documentaries, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I know there are documentaries that are centered around that very thing. We'll try to find those and put them in the show notes for people to go, because I know I have definitely watched a few.
Cool.
But yes, so okay, well, we're going to move on to another heavy hitter because that's just who Ava Duvernay is. So getting into the film Selma, which is a historical drama chronicling Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dangerous 1965 campaign to secure equal voting rights, culminating in the historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. The film focuses on King's strategy, his tense negotiations with President Lyndon B. Johnson, and the brutal violence faced by activists. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is played by David Oyelowo. And I would love to know your initial reactions to this film. And Kamesha, I will start with you.
My initial reaction was, I thought cinematically it was done very well. Because the look of independent film is different than like I guess cinematic or
like studio backed or Hollywood.
Studio, because I did think this one was like Warner Brothers or something. So indie films are different than studio films, and for her to pick this as her first studio film, I thought was like it was brave. So I thought cinematically it was done well. Just from the attacks on the bridge, like with the dogs, and she just tied it together so well. I was like, go Ava. It worked out so well. And to see David Oyelowo, well, I have a hard time with his last name too. Playing King, I thought he did a pretty good job. I was nervous at first when I heard he was playing King. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I thought he gave a pretty good performance. I felt like the casting was done well. I thought it was well written too. Again, and that shows her range to go from indie films to documentary to now this. I felt like we were there I was at least through the planning process, through the march, through the impact that it had after. I thought it was well done for her first film. I thought it was, and then the original song choices, like the song that Common created for this film. I can't think of the song now, but for that song to be nominated for an Oscar, for
one original song.
Yeah, it won. Yeah, but it was a beautiful song, and just the trailers, everything was on point. I was like, go marketing! Like she was in her PR bag. Her PR bag came out. Yeah, I was like, so I thought it was brave for that to be her first studio film, and it was admirable to just see how she put it all together. Because I know a lot of her films, she puts her money into them. Into the marketing and her knowledge that she has from working at the PR company, from working at a PR firm for 10 years. I felt like it all came together, and then to have the backing like Oprah, and that's where their friendship started. I thought it was a great, here comes now she's with after this. It's like, okay, Ava, so I thought it was well done in terms of the writing, the cinematography, the casting, marketing, in terms of like a film standpoint, and just the story. I thought she did a really good job I thought she did a good job.
Thank you. Dominique, how are you?
Dun, dun, dun. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or BS it. I have not seen this film as yet. When it came out up to now, it's one of those films that I know I want to be alert and available to sit and have quiet space to do. And unfortunately, those moments don't come up as often as I'd like them to. Plus, readily available. Maybe it's not I'm not sure where to get to see it. But it's on my to-do list. I've known the title and like, yes, I need to see this. I also need to be in that headspace to be prepared to be angry or what have you, because we already know the real life history of MLK and all the things. So again, being in that headspace and being ready to go hasn't been able to align as yet. But I do plan to see her soon. Seen this, not see her, but y'all know what I mean.
Katrina, what about you?
This is a film I saw once.
Yes,
I have these films where I watch them and I can only watch them
one time,
possibly once. I felt like I had insight on this film. So while I worked at the Black Film Center Archive at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, I had the opportunity to actually meet Ava Duvernay while she was actually working on this film, while she was working on Selma. So she visited the Black Film Center Archive to do a master class and have other conversations and discussions. And so I actually moderated a panel of her documentary, My Mic Sounds Nice, which we screened before she got to IU. She also shared a tweet with my name in it, and I was going around telling people like, Ava knows me. That's right. Everybody else does. Also, as the president of the Black Graduate Student Association at the time, we were able to put together an intimate lunch with Ava as well. So I was sort of wearing a couple hats, and I had all my feel of Ava then, and so seeing what it sort of was looking like to put this together and then to actually see it on screen. I mean, I was blown away. And because the film starts with that opening scene depicting the 16th Street Baptist Church. So you're watching little Black girls live their life talking in a church. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I feel like I know this is this is what this is about to be. Before the explosion happens on the screen. And then you see the shoes. And I really think that even this display, I believe this was one of the displays that was in the museum that's in DC, the African American History Museum. I mean, and that is just a moment that sits with you when it's you hear the story, you know the story, but then to see it on screen. And so for me, it reinforces that history is really not entertainment, but lived trauma. And so I offer myself up to see the histories of the people that came before us. And so who am I to say I can't watch the film? And knowing that folks lived through, but I still grapple with that, right? That's why I haven't finished watching When They See Us. Right. You know, I'm trying to bring myself to seeing the history, to witnessing, being a part of being a witness. I think we are all a part of making sure history doesn't get erased. That's probably why we go see these films, why we watch them, why we talk with each other about them. What can't be forgotten is the stories we tell each other, right? For sure. And so I do believe that the performances were compelling, emotionally grounded. Scenes pissed me off. Okay. Oprah playing Annie Lee Cooper. All those arbitrary barriers to voters, Black voters. And he asked her,
say the preamble
of the
Constitution.
And she knew it. Right. And then was like, name the 67 judges or of the 67. Or
which
how
he
many
probably doesn't even
know. What he asked was how many
are there? And
she
answered
67. And then he says, name them.
Like, dude.
And then he looks at her and puts the denied. And I wish I had a table. I was ready to flip something.
Build the table and then
flip somebody. Flip all bodies. And so, quite frankly, we are still voting bullshit voter suppression. With the Save America Act. So as historical as this film is, it is still present day. Present day. History.
Still happening.
So Selma, you know, but Selma gets back to the power of media, because when people saw what happened during that first march, it actually compelled folks of different races who did believe in the cause but hadn't stepped out to become part of the march, got up in the march. It propelled propelled the movement forward. So while media has done a lot of harm, something like this, in this case, it became the vehicle in which inspired other people to join in.
And I like that you brought that up, because in this time today, especially when we're talking about folks rising up, you know, we recently had like another No Kings protest and or march or parade, depending on who you're talking to. I'm gonna go to, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna keep moving on. But like when we're talking to
girl, no kids.
Right after this announcement.
Oh my God. So okay. But with all that going on, there's been a lot of conversation. And what I hear a lot of folks saying is, you know, talking specifically about nonviolence. And so nonviolence against a violent system. And people always want to bring up, and most of the time I hear it coming from white liberals talking about, again, using nonviolence. Well, we got to be nonviolent against this violent system. And then so they'll bring up the civil rights movement. And I go, okay, but that was in and of itself a strategy. Right. Because they knew that the cameras would be there. They knew that Americans, if they saw the violence that was being enacted against them and them not doing a thing, this is why people would also hold these kind of like practice sessions where, you know, if they're at a sit-in or if they're marching, right, and someone comes and spits at them, throws them down, right, is doing all these like horrible and violent things to them that they would resist in the form of nonviolence, they had a shared goal that the nonviolent acts that they were doing, right, and the violence that would be enacted on them, right, would be seen by millions of Americans.
Also, this is the time when millions of Americans sat in front of the television at the same time together to see the news. They didn't see the news as fake.
Right.
News was reported objectively. News folks saw themselves as, for the most part,
truth seekers.
The way you're supposed to be is the watchdog of the government. Is literally what a lot of what media was. Though media has done harm, right? The headlines, the imagery, they have not always done so in good ways. But this was we're going to record ourselves. There's social media that's happening at the same time. So this was a strategy that worked for the time. For the time and for the structure in which media was existing at the time, in the ways in which people regarded and lauded media representation.
May I ask a question after that?
Yes.
Comment. So, like, bringing it to today, I know this is not related to Ava.
No, go ahead.
Do you feel that how they demonstrated their communication and documenting this historical moment back then would have resonated as impactfully as it up for today, dealing with what we deal with now?
Sadly, I just think that people aren't as affected because we're so desensitized.
Yeah.
I mean, we are watching death.
That's kind of where I was getting at.
Like we can see someone die.
Right.
Now,
real time.
And scroll on to the very next thing that there is to watch. And so there's just not even, I think, a similar playing field.
It almost feels like it's harder to make something happen now.
It's a completely different reality.
But anyway, sorry.
That was a really good point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In this conversation. So thank you for bringing that forth.
Right. Because so many technological advances, right, have happened since then. Media is now acting in a different way. I mean, like, so much news is happening, but what they choose to, and I guess this has always been it, but it's even more so now, is like what they're choosing to highlight in the media is not what we necessarily need to know about like what's going on. And also in the way in which, so media also acts as a, and I'm going to be talking about this next month in our series about, or centering Arab Americans, or not next month, it's this month. I keep thinking it's March. Anyway,
it's April.
It's not April 2nd.
It's not April 2nd. It's still March. But in those talks, I'm also talking about like how Jack Valenti, who's a former CEO of Motion Picture Science and Arts, said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially that the government and Hollywood go hand in hand. So often that's what happens in film, right? Certain things, certain narratives, right, that come across your screen, right, are to manufacture consent to inflict atrocities on folks here and abroad.
Come on, manufacture. But why this is also important is because media is fragmented. And so people have the ability to tune into
to all the
things that align more closely to what they believe is their reality of what's happening. And so there are many things. I was going to bring up with Selma that the FBI's targeting of Dr. King also reflects this systemic effort to dismantle Black leadership through surveillance and personal attacks, which at the time came through on the family. So the FBI director sitting in the president's office is like, so we can get rid of King like permanently. So they're talking about like killing King in the president's office. And then the president says, I'm pretty sure I know that you can do that.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, there is some tension in the home and we can manufacture that. So as we're talking about manufacturing, there's a manufactured dismantling of Black leadership through Black family. And so get them to question their leader, get them to question that family unit. And then, so
isn't it sick? It's crazy.
Wow. I want to also touch on, so because I mean everyone's bringing up great points as per usual. But so yes, breaking up the family, breaking up Black leadership. At the same time that conversation is happening, Katrina, there's also this thing that he's also playing against, especially when Dr. King is in there, you know, talking about the importance of enforcing, right? Like vote participation, you know, for Black folks. Like, so Black folks, you know, even though they technically have the right, being able to actually vote. He's talking about that, but then in that same conversation, he's also talking about the Black militants, right, that are also coming up at the same time, and using all of that against Dr. King in a way. So, well, Dr. King is the more kind of like the palatable one. I was like, well, this is the Black person I'd rather deal
How
with.
history has painted Dr. King.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. At the end of his time,
right,
he was writing.
He was
closer
agreeing.
to Malcolm X.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Much closer.
But like, isn't
So
that
not good trouble?
Isn't that indicative though of like how our government is always moved? Because here you have this conversation happening where this man is trying to, again, dismantle like King's whole like move, or not, it's not even King's movement, I shouldn't even say that, because it's a group of people, right, that were working together, but like to paint him as, well, you're the leader of the civil rights movement, you're the leader, which is how our textbooks treat it, but you're the leader of this movement, but then at the same time like trying to find ways in which to like paint these ideas, try to break up the family, right, to break up the movement, and at the same time also use, well, you know, we'll work with Dr. King because we'd rather work with him rather than, you know, the Black militants, right, that are out here on the streets. You know what I'm saying? So it's all of that. It's all of this. It's like any sort of resistance, whether, you know, you're doing it in nonviolent acts or you are being free, just a revolutionary, a freedom fighter, which, I mean, Dr. King is in and of itself is also can be classified as a revolutionary. It's just like the strategies and the strategies and the methods that you're using, right, are different. But I just thought that was an interesting point. That conversation right there, not only just like speaks to so much of our history, but and also just like, again, Ava being the incredible storyteller and screenwriter that she is, having that moment. This is a moment like in a film. It just speaks to so much.
And she's done her research.
She's done her research.
She's talked. Gotten the right people, I think, in the room. In particular for Selma.
Yes. Last, I think the last point I want to like bring out before we move on to our next film, because we're covering four films tonight, y'all. So the thing that I kind of go back and forth about, and not really go back and forth, I have my opinions, which you will hear soon, but I want to get everyone else's opinions about the fact that at this time, Ava DuVernay, while she is writing Selma, and then also as they're in production and stuff like that, couldn't use any of Dr. King's speeches. She had to write King-inspired speeches because another filmmaker had the rights for his own film, that filmmaker being Steven Spielberg.
Oh yes, I do remember that.
Yes, so Dr. King's estate would not allow her to use the speeches in the film because Steven Spielberg already had the rights to make his own film about Dr. King. How do we feel about that? Dominique, you're giving me a look. Let us know.
This has been a public service announcement for gatekeeping at its finest. Like, what? But I mean, seriously, thank you. Alex will go with 800 points, please.
How does that? What is in just initial thoughts, like when you hear that? What is that?
It's cringeworthy, but it's a contract. Like, it sucks. You know, it's a bittersweet situation. Once you get big in the business, people make their claims, state their claims. It gets validated, and then they move forward. But I have to bring it to today, where people say we tear contracts in half. So I don't know, 10 years ago, well, a little bit over 10 years ago, and she was a new filmmaker going up against Steven Spielberg. Good luck, sis. But she still made an impact.
Right.
So good job.
Yeah. Kamesha, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one, she's a woman, a Black woman filmmaker. She's new to the game, you know, she's a baby in the industry, so he's not going to give up rights. When you have rights to a film, it's yours for I think like 16 months or something. And you have to relinquish your rights or sell them over to the other person, and I doubt he would do that. So it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but she didn't need it. I see it. She didn't need it.
Like somebody go say it. She didn't need it.
Yeah, she didn't need it. She did what she needed to do.
Better than the historical one. No.
Yeah.
Well, what my reaction is, I ain't never heard of this Steven Spielberg film. We out here talking about Selma.
Right.
Yeah.
Where his film at? Yeah. And
So,
yeah, she didn't need
so
it.
they got the rights in 2009 and no film has been produced.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing about rights. You can get it, and it can stay yours. Like you don't have to make the film. You can just sit on it. Yeah. So.
And guess what? She skyrocketed after this.
Yeah,
she did.
She did things because 13th followed this. Then it was another thing probably in between. Right. So like Kamesha said, she didn't need it. I'm like, because I ain't never heard of this Steven Spielberg.
Right. Never heard of Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg gagged himself out of that one. So
but you know what? That's funny. I mean, yes, the gatekeeping, but even on a side note, in the real world of real estate, they do the same thing. Well, they'll sit on what you call it, properties that are vacant for years, but because of tax purposes, it doesn't hurt them. They're, like dependent on that situation. So we ain't got to go way deep in that, but it's just funny. Like, is he making money on the side from this, even though he hasn't really made anything with it?
He doesn't need to.
Steven Spielberg doesn't need to make anything. Yeah.
Does someone need to remind them, hey, dude, let this go? Because we really need to utilize this information for other sources.
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely felt, I feel some type of way about it because I'm like, this is a Black woman making a film about one of our ancestors, like, and you can't just
give it away for free,
or just like work with.
He could have gave it away for free and just put his name on the film as a producer without changing the script, without giving any kind of money. Yeah.
Like executive producer, like that's what he could have.
He could have.
But I'm almost glad he did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't either, because it would have watered down what she. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it would have just been repeating history in a sense.
Oh, Spielberg and Duvernay.
A white savior, She didn't need a white savior on her film.
Yeah. But he could have did drop a song or something. Maybe. I know he's not a musician, but just have his name somewhere up in there, why not?
Dang. All right. Well, on that
shout outs to Spielberg though. We rock with you. But also situation go.
What the hell, man? Anyway.
And the potential film directed by Chris Rock, which they were talking about in 2013 or 2023 or 2024.
Guys. Absolutely not.
So maybe we're getting a Rock directed film.
Absolutely not. Boycott that. No.
Not hilarious at all.
Oh gosh.
Y'all getting her upset. She's turning red over here.
I'm sorry. Listen. I said it before, and I said it again on this podcast. Chris Rock deserved that slap, and there's
come on. Good hair was good. It was.
One. Anyway, moving on.
rub some tussin on your face. It's fine.
Oh God.
All right, she read, y'all. Let's get back to business.
Listen, keep my name. I know. So. So anyway, Moving on to A Wrinkle in Time. I can't with y'all.
Okay, you could do a comedy spot. We could do this.
Oh my goodness gracious! No, I am not a comedian. I know my strengths, and that is not one of them.
Well, we're laughing, so it's going well.
I don't know if it's with me or at me, but that's fine. Either way, it's all love.
So
A Wrinkle in Time. Okay, it is based on a science fiction and fantasy novel of the same name by author Madeleine L'Engle. Meg Murray, played by Storm Reed, and her little brother Charles Wallace have been without their scientist father, or Mr. Murray, played by Chris Pine, for 5 years, ever since he discovered a new planet and used the concept known as a tesseract to travel there. Joined by Meg's classmate Calvin O'Keefe and guided by the 3 mysterious astral travelers known as Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch, played by Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, and Oprah Winfrey, respectively. The children brave a dangerous journey to a planet that possesses all the evil in the universe. Okay, so who wants to start with their initial reaction to Wrinkle in Time?
I love whimsy.
Whimsical.
I feel like that's the place to start, right? After we've talked about some heavy,
fair.
But there were a couple of heavy things or that came out because you got this young mixed biracial girl who's labeled as hostile and aggressive after being aggressed upon.
Right.
And
I was cheering for her, honestly.
I'm sort of like, there are these broader patterns of like adultification and biases that you just see come across, lack of advocacy from parents and principal and teachers. And, I hate seeing films or depictions of children not being heard.
Right.
I believe, even though I've had great family structures and parents and things, I truly believe there were times I wasn't heard or understood and was the person that felt like, okay, I'm sort of just here at times. And so
agree, Katrina. Totally agree.
I don't see what's going on. And I've been what you could call a troublemaker, especially back in the day. Or people would have seen me as a troublemaker. For sure. I remember telling one teacher, you know my teacher, can't tell me what to do. I've since grown, okay?
You are the teacher.
I am the teacher. Look at that, right? Oh, I tell my students all the time, I was not a model student, okay? But the whimsy, the themes of identity, self-discovery, and inner strength at the intersection of like transformation, like sort of having to know who you are, believing in what you know, and it gets her to this place to be able to travel and find her father. And so seeing a film that's about really transformation, being rooted in self-awareness and recognizing one's own value was really, it was fun to watch because I always didn't know what was going on. I was like, why they gotta call Charles Wallace by his full name every time they say his boy name? So weird.
I was like, maybe it's a book thing.
Charles Wallace. But they were trying to say they're maybe hinting at his uniqueness and individuality being adopted into this family of Murrays, right? Because they're all Murray, but that's just his middle name. He's Charles Wallace Murray, but they call him Charles Wallace. I still could not find really why they called him this full name throughout the entire film. A lot of whimsy, cool outfits. Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, the costumes for sure.
I'll stop because I can say a lot anytime it has to do with whimsy. And so I'm still fluttering a little bit because I watched this one recently. And so though a lot of it wasn't feel good, the visuals of it going to these different worlds and seeing those kind of things, I just like to have my eyes on something colorful and visual. So,
absolutely. Kamesha, how about you?
A Wrinkle in Time, I will say, is not a film I really remember with Ava. I did watch it, and I remember when she got the green light for this film, and she got a huge budget. It was unheard of for a Black woman who was only in the industry she was less than 10 years in. Selma was a hit. She gets $100 million to make a coming-of-age story. A first African-American director to get money like this to make this film. I was like amazed. And it's like, oh my God, this is great. Because when moments
Yeah.
100 million. Yeah. When moments like this happen, you feel like you can do it too. So when moments for Black directors, Black actors happen, even if you're not in the industry, even if you just are a witness to it, there's hope, And I was excited for her to get a green light for this because I knew more opportunities for other Black directors would come. And eventually it did because Ryan Coogler, it came about. But yeah, it's not a film that I would watch again, mainly because I felt like, I don't know if it was too soon for her to do something like this after Selma. And I know yeah. So I don't know if I
judgy.
No.
Can explain. You get what I mean? Like, I don't know if I could articulate it well, because I do like how whimsical it was. I love a coming of age story about Black youth.
Yeah.
Like, it's so and I love the whimsical aspect, the colors, how colorful it was, how daring it was. I thought that the casting was interesting. And I loved how so many people were pushing for it, even if they didn't love it. A lot of people were pushing for Ava to win. But I think I should have read the book before watching it. That's all I will say. Because I do feel like adaptations they're different. And although in a way, Ava is an adaptation kind of filmmaker, even if something doesn't have a book connected to it, there's history connected to it. There's facts. There's archives. You know what I mean? So I just think I should have read the book before watching it. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Kamesha. I think two things that I want to bring up. Number one is just like kind of like a sidebar. I remember a friend of mine who, Madeline L'Engle is like her favorite author. And so she was pretty excited to see the film and felt that it was very kind of disjointed from the book. I do take the point, and I've been learning this myself over the years, that, each like a book is always going to be different from the film. Like, no matter how similar you get to the source material, it's always going to be its own thing. So like someone who usually will read a book, and I've gotten less and less about that, because I'm like, they're going to be two different things no matter what. But like someone who, would usually read the book before watching the movie, just to kind of see, okay, like where did they stay the same with the bock, where did they deviate, and why make those decisions, and was always been fascinating to me. But yeah, like I don't know, maybe you would have appreciated it, maybe not. I feel like again, any like comparisons like to the book is already, because as you know, like there's so many people in your ear, right? Like, so you're writing it, you also have studio execs, right, who are also stressing something. You may also have actors who have been doing it a long time that have their own kind of spin on how they want to do things. Like, there's so many different decisions that are kind of like being enacted, implemented or not, that happened between when you read the book, put it to put it into a screenplay, and then when it gets to production, and then even in post-production as well. So like there's so many moving pieces. Apparently, so according to critics, this was a box office flop. So it was, even though it did technically, so just A Wrinkle in Time grossed $100.5 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $32.7 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $133.2 million.
Did she use that entire budget?
So in the U.S. and Canada, Wrinkle in Time was released alongside, okay, get ready for this, The Hurricane Heist, Gringo, and The Strangers Pray at Night, which I don't know if anyone remembers those films. But
that last one sucked.
Okay, thank you. Word from our producer. And was projected to gross 30 to 38 million from 3,980 theaters in its opening weekend. It made 10.2 million on the first day, including 1.3 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut at 33.1, finishing second behind Disney's own Black Panther. So it did like a drop. So according to critics, it's considered the film received mixed reviews from critics and was a box office bomb with a reported loss of $130.6 million at the box office. So another thing that I also want to reiterate. So Ava is in a film made by or documentary, because of course I'm going to mention a documentary. But we love docs. So in the film Half the Picture, shout out to Amy Adrian, who is a Rochester native. She made a film with a bunch of women directors, and one of the directors she's interviewing is Ava Duvernay. And Ava Duvernay and multiple other directors talk about how if they are given these bigger budgets, right, after they've made a few films and everything, and they get the opportunity to get these big budgets, they're not allowed to fail. Right? There's so many male directors who are given big budgets, flop, and continue to get all of these opportunities to make other big budget films. So there's also this the systemic, hindrance at play, right? That's happening with women directors. You flop once, or you don't make as much money as was originally projected. You don't have the other opportunity to get other like bigger budgets and everything like that. And so I think in noting all of that, especially, with this film, that was constantly what was going on in my head as I was watching the film. Like you, Kamesha, I probably wouldn't, and I'm a big like fantasy science fiction girly, okay? Like, quote Star Wars and Lord of the Rings right back at you any day of the week. Though like I'm sitting there and I'm going, I know I'm not the target audience because like it's a PG film. It's clearly made for kids. And at the same time, I'm also just like, I felt like script wise, there was like dialogue wise, there was kind of a lot missing. Also, I expected there to be more, like for the misses, right, to be more animated, right? Like, and I think it just was just kind of, I found it kind of lacking. I love that that the center of the story is love. It's of self-love, right? It's of self-discovery and sticking up for yourself. And there were so many things, that she was going, like Meg was going through, that I was like, oh, I could have easily related to this, right? Like as a kid, with her just being unsure, right? You're a teen, you're someone who's growing up and you were very awkward. I appreciated that, but at the same time, I just felt like so much of the dialogue, it was kind of missing the mark for me. I don't know.
I felt the same.
Yes, to hear,
right.
But I'm following because that
for whimsy.
So when you're whimsy, you're like, okay. Storm Reed did a wonderful job.
Yes,
Storm Reed is just a
I agree.
She's good.
She's always so good, and I loved all the kid actors. I think that they chose.
I agree.
And in the bonus material of the film, she talks about that she saw it as a standalone from the book itself, and that she was trying to foreground diversity. She wanted the film to also, mirror what the world looks like, and so they were just talking about the diversity of the cast, and I don't know, one of the most beautiful lines that came out of that. Somebody was like, "Yay!" Somebody said, it's okay to fear difficult truths, or something like, it's okay to fear the truth, but we should not avoid them." Yeah, like if there's no other takeaway, so I can always find a takeaway.
Oh yeah,
So, I'm sad to hear that it was considered a flop, but I could see the audience it was for, even though it might not have been for myself either. But I like whimsy, so
yes, might have been a reach. I mean, she's stepping into an arena that none of her our audience that she had already started to generate are used to.
Yeah,
so it's like a big shift, a big pivot, or experiential to see if this is something that she wants to consider. Jackie, it's good that what information you mentioned about box office. I mean, competing with Wakanda, like, good luck. And just bringing your mind back to when those were at box office, and you see the bill plays that are around you and the options, like, oh, I'll catch that later. Now, later may never come. So for me, and that's, again, like you mentioned, Katrina, as far as wheelhouse is considered, if it's for Jackie, you mentioned too, if it's for you or if it's not. For me, I don't even remember seeing. I did go to Wakanda, saw Wakanda probably 3 times in the theater before watching it. After, but I don't remember seeing the visual in the theater, but I do remember the ad coming up on Prime many a times, and it was one of those things like, yeah, maybe I'll check this. Didn't know it was her as the director. I think also if I knew that, it would have been like, let me see automatically. Anything you see as a certain director that you follow, you're just going to watch it.
Exactly.
Had no idea that she was associated with this film. Honestly, until you mentioned these were coming out. So, my bad, Ava. Please don't judge me, girl. And so I resonate with what Kamesha mentioned too. Like maybe it was too early in her career to step out and go into this path.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, F the industry. Sometimes you gotta make your own pathway and do your own table. Make your own table, which she's got Harpo behind her back. Like, do your thing, girl. Mash up the place. You're doing it.
Wrinkle in time.
And one other thing I want to say, also related to the casting. Typically, when I do see films that are highly
Tastical,
thank you, and just very imaginative. Why am I stuttering? This, when I saw the bill player, the ad for it, automatically resonated to Cinderella's remake with Brandy and classic. Everybody in this whole world, like, what are we doing? Sorry, no, that was not an enjoyable one for me. There was too much going on. Casting too much was going on. So in this situation, that's kind of how I felt too, which is like, I'll get to it. Like, great, you got some big names in here, but what are we doing here?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
No. First of all, you do not have to apologize for
not sorry.
On
when you apologize, you're supposed to take a sip. So here's my sip. It's coconut water, guys.
Coconut water.
Oh, well, I appreciate again all of y'all's feelings about this, because this one I just kind of felt like it was kind of off, like, for me. We always have those, and as we should, and as we always do, like, have those high expectations, for Ava. And this one is definitely not one that I probably will remember, at least in terms of just like storyline. I will remember the visuals. I will remember, like, again, Storm Reed, I think, she always does an incredible job getting very, like, just to the heart of a story. She's incredible. But like, other than that, I was just like, probably won't be watching again, but we appreciate the ambition.
I like the title, but it was already given from the original author. Yes. And as soon as I hear the title, I envision the trailer. So, they definitely put a lot of work and money
for sure
into this.
For sure.
Another telltale for me, because I realized it was a feel good or some form of family friendly film when I'm watching the trailer and asking the children, like, hey, you want to check this? No, like, it just was a flat. That they were around the age that should be doable to watch it, and they were not interested at all. So,
no worries. All right, so we are going to now move on to the last film that we will be covering by Ava Duvernay, Origin. So came out in 2023. It is the story of a writer who faces personal loss at the same time she works on a book based on her unified theory about systems of oppression. The film is adapted from Isabel Wilkerson's best-selling book Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, and it dramatizes the book's ideas and the way it comes together. Ingenue Ellis Taylor stars as Wilkerson and also features John Barenthal and Niecy Nash Betts. All right, so initial reaction. I'm going to go with Kamesha first to talk about. Yes.
Fantastic. I think it was I guess a redemption from Wrinkle in Time. When I think about Origin, because it's an adaptation, but not really an adaptation. I felt like it was an adaptation, but Ava put her Ava twist on it, because I think Adaptation proved to her that maybe I can't do it. In Wrinkle in Time proved to her maybe I cannot do an adaptation, because you're trying to make this book into like a visual thing, entertainment, and books and films are different, because films have to have action and you have to visualize what you're writing. Books necessarily don't. So for this, when she marketed it, she said it's loosely based off the book cast. She did not say it was an adaptation, which in a way it kind of is. But I was able to read Origin, and everyone should read Origin. It's not Origin, I'm sorry, Cast. And I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, okay, so it's loosely based off of Isabel Wilkerson, but the film is about Isabel Wilkerson writing the book cast. And I just thought how she marketed that was fantastic. So to see it, and after reading the book, I thought the movie, the book, it's just great. I thought it was sad that it didn't get the just due that it did, that people didn't talk about it enough. Because she paid for the marketing, she paid for the screens. Because after COVID, marketing for film changed. So before COVID, in order to get your films played in theaters, you would have to pay for the theater. So if A Wrinkle in Time, a big part of the budget is, say you pay for 2,000 screens, 2,000 theaters. That's a part of the money that they're giving you. This is like the business of film. So now there's not necessarily, that's not an aspect of market anymore, because people aren't filling seats at theaters. People are like watching it. So she paid for a certain amount of theaters, knowing that it would go to a streaming platform, I think like months after. So she had a good strategy in mind, so she wouldn't waste money, because again, she paid for all of the PR marketing. Like a studio didn't back her on this. She submitted it, tried to get money for it, and people said no. And it could have been because she bombed the last film, but she felt so strongly about this that she was able to get it made, and I thought it was great. I just wish it was I wish it would have lasted in theaters a little longer than it did.
Because I think it's this is another one, I think, whereas like 13th is like the documentary that you show in classrooms, I think Origin is the narrative you show in classrooms.
I agree.
You pair it with cast, because after watching this film, I wanted to immediately, I was like, okay, I mean, I know I've got like books stacked on the night shelf, right? Like this, right? I'm like, girl, you gotta finish these before you do it. Okay, right.
2 scenes.
Listen, I'm in the middle of like 4 books right now. It's crazy.
I'm reading 3 right now.
See what I'm saying? Like
girlies are reading.
Girlies are reading, and
coming soon.
Exactly. There you go. And but I immediately, like, after watching the film, I was like, I gotta go read Cast. Because the way in which she approaches, and like this is talking about, this is loosely based on Isabel Wilkerson and her approach to writing this book. But thinking about it really challenged me, because it was like, she's listing like all of these different times in history, right, where you have a set of people being oppressed and another set of people being the oppressors, and whether or not you can justifiably label that as racism, because she's like, whereas in some forms you can label it as racism, there are other forms where it's more speaking to caste rather than like like a race. So it's really oh, I'm echoing. So in the ways in which like we think about like oppression, and she even questions, like, she's having this conversation, I think it's like at a party or social or something, where she's or like a speaking engagement, and like someone is like pointing to all these like different moments, and she is talking about, but can you call that racism necessarily? Is it racism, or is it part of a a larger kind of like is under like, you know, another umbrella, or not another umbrella, but like in the same way where you're thinking about racism, it has to be something else. So like thinking about she brings, that's the thing, is like I think she does what I would imagine the book also does, because again I haven't read the book yet, but I will, it's on the list. But the way in which we think about all these moments in history and about people being oppressed, thinking back to and also reenacting this moment where there were these four students, right, studying, I think it was anthropology, and the students are there's it's two couples. One is a black couple, one is a white couple, and they're in Germany right at the time where like Hitler's on the rise, and these two black students are watching as the like these group, like the Nazi group, right, is burning books. And you know, and so this, you know, the white person, I guess that it's kind of like their, I don't want to say tour guide, it's like their kind of guide into like what's happening, right? You know, is like telling them, okay, we got to get to safety, like you know, gotta get you out of here. But essentially like it's bringing you into all of these like different moments of history, as you know, Isabel is going through you know, everything that all the research that she's having to do, you know, to write her book is incredible to see. And so when I'm thinking in terms of like, because I'm sitting there and I'm going, yeah, it's white supremacy, but I'm also like, well, if you're talking about when it comes to Nazi Germany and you're talking about Germans versus, you know, the German citizens, like, and then also like Jewish people and Nazis, what you're talking about is not necessarily white supremacy, it's caste. And so I'm going, okay, now I gotta read this book. So it's very interesting to see her go through that journey. And at the same time, this woman is dealing with tremendous amounts of grief. She's seeing the loss of her husband, the loss of her sister, and the loss of her mother, all while she's like trying to write this book. There's so many moments I had to kind of I really had to pause the film. There's a moment where I think at the film, one of those moments that she's talking about, she also brings up Trayvon Martin. That broke me, because I'm going, like, and this is made in 2023, and it's still like that is hitting you, because then you're being reminded not only of just that, and how this teen was targeted, but then also all the other instances of like violence against black boys, black women, black people, and Ava's interweaving all of these different things, while at the same time talking about her like writing this book. Kamesha, what any thoughts about that? Any thoughts about like other moments? Because I have one other that I really want to like kind of mention, that I'm glad Ava included.
I will say, I think what you just said about Isabel Wilkerson's grief, that was a thing that stuck with me. Her kind of writing about grief, or the grief that is like, a part of our DNA in a way, like we didn't go through these things, but our ancestors did, and we kind of carry those things in our body, and then dealing with all this death around her husband, her mother, her sister, her house literally falling apart too. That's another form of grief, like losing this thing that you spent so much money on, that you spend so much time, where you spend the bulk of your time, and then starting the film off with that question, like, was the Holocaust worse than slavery? And that's what it's kind of based around. And you follow these students and you follow her research, and I think in my opinion, it's a story about grief.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. And I thought Anjanou Ellis did great, but she can't do any wrong. Like Anjanou, she's just that girl.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize it was her in oh my god, her in The Help, like that. But like where I really started paying attention to ingenue was actually Lovecraft Country.
Yes. Oh, that's a favorite of mine.
Oh my god, the I Am episode. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, she's just incredible. Again, would have loved for her to see more recognition, because she really is a powerhouse, a force to be reckoned with. You know, just acting is phenomenal. I also want to go back to something that you said that was going to be something that I bring up, was like, you know, that question of, you know, what was worse. There's this moment, she's sitting down with this couple, and and she's in Germany, and she's talking to them about like the, I guess, like the difference like between, so the like slavery, right, or rather the Holocaust, right, the way in which this woman that she's talking to mentions it is like it wasn't necessarily I think, and you know, let me know in the comments if I'm getting this incorrect. But from what I remember in the movie, where she talks about the Holocaust being like not necessarily systemic, it was about annihilation. It was about extermination, right? Like you know, removing folks from the earth, like in totality. Whereas like slavery was more systemic, and there Isabel in the film like gets this look on her face that I think I was making at the same time, like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, and but then what happens is, and I jumped out of my seat when I heard this, but when she's doing her research and it's mentioned, and she finds out that it was actually Jim Crow and the enslavement of Black people that inspired Hitler, right, to commit, right, the Holocaust, right, to do all these things to commit that. And I know I had heard that before, but like had to have it confirmed, like, you know, with all this research she's doing and everything. I was just like, see, I've been trying to tell people. But yes, any thoughts to that, Kamesha? Because I just thought that was incredible.
That I thought it was incredible too. Like, so to hear that, and again, I started reading Cast, but I didn't finish it before I watched Origin. So I was like halfway through, and I'm like, I gotta finish this book after watching it. And that was something that stuck out to me as well. I was like, oh my gosh, the American people, like the forefathers inspired this. And she goes into a deep dive in the film, in the book. You know, it's very dense. So if you can get an Audible, the Audible book, and read along with that might be helpful. But it is a dense book. But yeah, I thought it was some of the things that she brought up, I thought were just amazing, you know, and how they were articulated in the film too.
Absolutely. All right, so if we could do a kind of a round, I guess, like a quick fire or rapid fire rather, thing of, okay, if Ava Duvernay were a regular listener to the podcast, which I'm just going to dream up now. Hey, Ava. Anyway, what would you like to say to her directly? Katrina, I'll start with you.
Girl, put me in a film. Hey, sis. We had some kikis at IU. I can be like in the Bonito Bowl where I'm just a piece of grass, honey. I'll be in the film. That's it.
Dominique.
Piece of grass. I think you got the wrong person. That's like Bad Bunny last I checked.
Well, that's what she said. Bonito Bowl, baby.
Yeah,
you got the Bonito Bowl. I will be the grass.
I'll be the grass.
She's trying to be with both of y'all. Anyway, Ava, what would I say to you? I love your hair. I love your content. And I'd love to be in your fan base. I'll even work for free, boo. I don't tell that to a lot of people.
Free. Don't work for free.
I know,
girl.
but I take stipends. I volunteer with a stipend, and it will be lovely to meet you one day. Keep. We are here rocking with you.
Yes.
Keep going.
Kamesha.
I would say, Ava, come to a dinner party, and also put me on the crew. Like, make me an assistant director. Like, girl, like we can do this. That's what I would say.
What I would say was, first of all, thank you for all that you do. You are who like led me to becoming a filmmaker. Like I sat down and watched 13th and was inspired by you to become a director. I would also say, please be an executive producer on one of our films, or be a mentor, whatever. Come on the podcast. I don't care. Come to a panel discussion that we have, whatever. I would love to learn from you. Okay. And real quickly, where can folks find you and support you? I will start with Kamesha.
You can contact me on my website as cdivision.est89.org. Yeah, that's it. I'm in these Brooklyn streets, Rochester streets. Yeah.
Dominique.
Where can folks find you and how can they support you? You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, at Carabago Designs. You can go to my website, carabagocreative.com, or a phone call away, which I will not put here, but maybe you will put it on
in the show notes. I will put it in the show notes for you for sure. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Katrina Overby.
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram, dr_ko_08 or @spin.ko on the YouTubes.
Yes. Okay. Hire her. Okay. For all your DJ needs. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you to all of our guests for joining our podcast tonight. Listeners will have information about where you can follow and support them in the show notes or in the description below, of course, if you're watching on YouTube. Wherever you're listening from, hit that subscribe button. If you like tonight's episode, please give us a 5-star rating and share this episode and leave a comment to let us know what you loved about tonight's episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, all of the things. You can also visit us at ourvoicesproject.com and sign up for our newsletter for more information about what we do here at Our Voices Project. We'll be back with more episodes every Thursday with old and newly released movies that center Black, Brown, Indigenous folks, general movie news, and interviews with film festival programmers, curators, film critics, and filmmakers. Next week, we will also, actually within the next coming days, we'll be dropping our last episode, again dedicated to giving Black directors our flowers. We'll also be having a podcast series focusing on Arab American representation and misrepresentation in Hollywood, as it is Arab American Heritage Month. And with that, this has been Jackie McGriff, your host for this episode of Representation in Cinema. As always, thank you for listening.